Well, not a good game for the Bulls. I mean, look, you can't win them all. The Bulls just went on a 9-game winning streak. Like, we should still feel very happy and proud of this team and what they've been able to do so far this season. Like, even after a loss, they still maintain the top spot in the East and with a cushion. I've said it before, this is why going on a long winning streak in the NBA, that's so incredibly hard to do, because any given night, guys can be off, the opposing team can have one of the best games of their season, and of course, guys can always go in and out of the lineup. So I know a lot of Bulls fans were disappointed in the live game chat earlier, as well as what I saw on Twitter, but come on now, guys. We just won 9 games in a row and lost to a pretty solid team on the road. Yes, it does suck, because had the Bulls won 10 in a row, it would have been the first time that they had actually been able to do that since the 90s Jordan era. And given we're playing the Pistons in our next game, it likely would have extended to an 11-game winning streak. But at the end of the day, I care more about what this team can do for the long haul for the rest of the season and into the postseason, rather than just some winning streak midway through the year. Now, let's not sugarcoat it. This was a bad game for the Bulls. Yes, they played well against a team above 500, a team that has one of the best players in the league in Luka Doncic, and they were on the road, but the Mavs were also without Porzingis, and the Bulls simply just were out-hustled on the floor, especially in the fourth quarter, where you normally see the Bulls turn it up a notch. Now, you can call it simply being tired, the length of the regular season, and knowing that it's a marathon and not a sprint, and with the Bulls putting themselves in good playoff position, it makes it that much harder for the guys to give 100% effort, especially when you start to see your team falling behind. And we've kind of seen this before with the Bulls, right? We saw it in the first game against the Wizards when the Bulls got tired, or they're not as energized and focused anyway. They stopped moving the ball around in transition and getting everyone touches, and they resort to heavy isolation basketball while guys stand around and watch the play. And that was really the biggest issue tonight with the Bulls, was the lack of ball movement, minimal passing and getting guys involved. Few plays running in transition, most possessions were handled in the half court. And on top of that, they didn't rebound the ball well either to give them second chance opportunities, because aside from the lack of ball movement being one of the biggest issues in this game, the other was simply that they just couldn't hit their shots. The Bulls could not find their rhythm tonight, especially the Bulls' big three, who shot very poorly from the field. Lavine shot 7 for 21, Vucevic 6 for 17, and DeRozan 9 for 16. Well, 9 for 16 is actually pretty good, but the Bulls as a whole shot 43% and 33% from 3, and some of these were wide open shots that you would normally see the Bulls knock down, and because they were not able to hit their shots and were able to crash the glass on offense, the Mavs took advantage of a cold shooting night from the Bulls, and when they struggled with their shot, the Mavs turned it around in transition when they weren't hustling back and getting on defense, and the effort was not there on that end of the floor for Chicago. Now, give the Mavs credit. They played really well in this game, which is another thing I wanted to add, because the thing is, now that the Bulls are one of the best teams in the league, and especially being on a 9-game winning streak going into tonight, teams are going to come out and play their best basketball, seeing this as a big game for them, getting a statement win against one of the best teams in the NBA. Like, this isn't the Bulls of the past, where teams just saw them as another easy win on their schedule and to not have to take them seriously as a result. No, now teams are seeing this as a big game on their schedule going against one of the heavy hitters in the league, which is a good thing if you're the Bulls. I mean, like, we haven't been viewed in this way in the NBA for years now, so to be that team that everyone is keeping an eye on when it comes time to face Chicago is a good thing. But anyway, as I mentioned, shooting tonight was not good. Zach was really off tonight, both in the mid-range and from deep. He was also turning the ball over frequently, and still, one of my biggest pet peeves of Zach is the fact that when he doesn't get the call he wants, he complains to the refs and doesn't hustle back on defense. I'm not saying Zach is in the wrong on some of the no calls on him, because they are in fact ridiculous, but like, when is this guy going to finally start getting calls like other All-Stars do? But man, you have to let it go and get back on D. This has happened so many times this season, and it's led to the opposing team getting easy buckets on the other end, as they're essentially playing 4-on-5 at that point. I get it, Zach, you're frustrated. We're frustrated as fans, but let the coaching staff deal with the refs on those calls and get back on defense. Zach and DeMar still managed to score 20 points each night, but between the Bulls' big three, this was their lowest scoring output between the three of them, with Vooch only having 13 points. And look, Vucevic, he was pretty bad tonight. Like, I'm not going to dwell on it like we were at the beginning of the season when he was slumping, but ultimately I think Vooch will be fine. But some of his shots were just completely even missing the iron and coming off the backboard. I will say, and I called this out on my weekly preview video, that the Bulls are going to struggle against the Mavs just with their overall matchups because the Mavericks' size and depth in the front court is not going to be easy for the Bulls. And again, they didn't even have Porzingis tonight. But between Maxi Kleber, Finney Smith, Dwight Powell, this is a team that is going to give the Bulls problems with their small ball lineup. Again, one of the reasons why I've said despite the Bulls' success this season, they have to do something about bulking up their front court. Like the Bulls made Maxi Kleber look like an all-star tonight, scoring 6 threes. They were not guarding him on the perimeter, and part of that is because Derrick Jones Jr., Troy Brown Jr., and even Ayo simply won't cut it in terms of matching up with his size. So for Vucevic, yes, a bad game, but he's going to struggle against these teams that have depth in the front court and without a strong rim protecting for the Bulls. As for DeRozan, he shot decently well tonight, but what was uncharacteristic of him was his aggression in getting to the hoop and drawing contact. DeRozan only went to the foul line twice tonight, and he just didn't really look like himself. I do like seeing him consistently putting up good passing numbers. That is the second game in a row where he has had 8 assists, so that's a good thing to see, especially when the Bulls aren't tallying the number of assists we would like to see. Coby White had another decent game, although he was minus 17 tonight when on the court, but it was good to see him scoring at a more consistent rate still, although the long ball wasn't going down for him as much as we would have liked to see. Ayo not as strong of an offensive game as we saw the other night, but when he was guarding Doncic tonight, he was doing a great job at locking him down and not giving him looks at the basket or lob passes inside the paint. I would have liked to see Ayo and Doncic a bit more in this game. However, at the same time, Lonzo played pretty well on him too. But even with the solid defense on Luka, the guy was still able to put up a triple-double with 22 points, 14 rebounds, and 14 assists, and was plus 26 for the Mavericks. Dude is just an incredible player. He couldn't have just sat out one more game after that ankle injury, huh? But hey, it is what it is. Anyway, it wasn't meant to be tonight, guys. 10 straight wins wasn't in the cards, but on to the next. And this upcoming week isn't going to be easy. Yes, the Bulls have the Pistons at home on Tuesday, but after that, they're going to face the Nets in a back-to-back, then the Warriors and the Celtics in another back-to-back. I'll cover those games and what to expect in my weekly preview that will be out tomorrow. Until then, as always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.